I'm going to actually take a step back and first go back to self-organizing systems, take a broader view of economics and ecological systems. So I'll briefly present today a research effort called the Lifel Sustainathon. It's an effort to connect research across disciplines and to build a big picture view of organization in living systems. A big picture view that spans biological, ecological, and socioeconomic systems. And a big picture view that we hope will provide deeper insights into organizational linkages between our self-organizing natural ecosystems and socioeconomic systems. And further leverage new insights to develop holistic solutions that can synergize or align our economic systems and ecosystems. So this cross-disciplinary research and solutions development in the Lifel Sustainathon has been commenced with a recently published multi-level hypothesis that presents some very intriguing similarities between the broad organization of our banks and financial networks, financial investment networks, and a subsoil fungus called Arbuscular Mycorrhiza in ecosystems, and also gut bacterial systems in heterotrophs. So this provides scientists a unique opportunity to now explore new connections between economic and ecological systems and address important questions like, do the roots of our banking and financial investment networks as dynamically constituted, self-organizing systems really lie in natural ecosystems? So are we able to really see parallels between natural ecosystems and our financial investment networks? And from a solutions development point of view, could such similarities between our financial investment networks and natural ecosystems be leveraged to develop new solutions like exchangeable environmental currencies that could allow ecosystems and economies to be better aligned? But before we go there, I'd like to walk you through some of the thinking and the development of the hypothesis. So it all starts with this conflict between economics and ecosystems, which is perhaps as old as human civilization. And with growing population and rapid pace of economic development, today this conflict is more pronounced than ever before. One of the reasons why this conflict has been so difficult to resolve is that it arises through interactions between two systems that are extremely large, extremely complex, self-organizing, interconnected, and both of these systems are constantly evolving. So they are our economic system and the ecosystems. In such cases, any durable resolution requires a fundamental alignment between systems that simultaneously extends across many different geographical and, of course, political scales, but also over very long periods of time. Periods that will allow the two evolving systems to find a synergistic coevolutionary trajectory. And despite many efforts, this has been particularly difficult to accomplish. So, looking for solutions, we turn to living systems for a better understanding on how living systems could manage this. So, living systems are known to produce multi-level, nested, and coupled organization, where self-organization at one level then forms a basis for self-organization at the next. And this gives rise to different interconnected levels in organization: biological, ecological, and socioeconomic. And a cascading living organization at increasing spatial and temporal scales. So what can we learn about multi-system sustainability from living systems? Now the problem that we were facing there is when we addressed this challenge was that a lot of our research in the organization of living systems is scattered or fragmented across very many multiple disciplines. And the structural aspects of how living systems are organized across these disciplines are all very different. For instance, when you're looking at how molecules organize to form living cells, it's a very different structure and very different systems that the prebiotic evolution scientists are looking at. And when how people are organized in an economy is again a very, very different system studied by sociologists. So we had to develop new technologies and methods by which we could actually look beyond these structural differences at organizational similarities. Similarities on how these systems are connected, similarities on the relationships between the elements at different levels, and how it affects sustainability in such interconnected, evolving, multi-level systems. And when we did this, what we found was really, really quite unexpected. So what we found was that for many years, soil mycologists have been studying the organization of a widespread fungus, okay, a widespread subsoil fungus called Arbuscular Mycorrhiza. They found that this fungus forms extensive interconnected subsoil networks that connect roots of more than 90% of terrestrial plants. And somewhere, to give you an idea of how important this fungus is for ecosystems, somewhere around 20% of total photosynthetic production of plants is channelized down to this one single fungal network, right? And so we knew that this fungus plays a very, very important role. Now, if you really look at ecological networks, the first level of ecological networks is where geochemicals are picked up by plants and converted in through photosynthesis into biomass. And in most such terrestrial ecosystems, phosphorus is a growth-limiting nutrient. And what is most interesting is that researchers found that arbuscular mycorrhiza, they create a vibrant underground marketplace where they exchange growth-limiting phosphorus to plants in return for high-energy carbohydrates from plants. So the phosphorus goes up to the plants, and the plants provide carbohydrates to this mycorrhiza network. Further, across connected networks, mycorrhiza distribute phosphorus to such plants that provide the best returns in terms of carbohydrates. Now think about this like an underground stock market. So the question is, how similar is this to this investment for returns? How similar is that to our financial markets? Right? And this was a big find which is hotly being debated, discussed, and in fact I'll be presenting at the International Mycorrhiza Conference this year as well. So this is a topic for important topic for further research. Now when you look at the next level in ecosystems, you have many different plants, right, become food for different species of heterotrophs. And recent research suggests that here again, gut bacteria play a very important role. And we know that every heterotrophic species has gut bacteria in their guts. And to give you a sense for how prevalent they are, if you take the human body and count the total number of cells in your own body, there will be 10 times as many bacterial cells in your gut as your own cells in your body. And that's how many gut bacteria we carry. A large part of the energy in plant food is stored in the form of indigestible carbohydrates like cellulose and fibers. And if a species is able to digest these cellulose and fibers, these indigestible carbohydrates, it can greatly increase its energy absorption and energy assimilation from its diet. And that's where gut bacteria come in. They break down these indigestible carbohydrates into readily absorbable short-chain fatty acids, and hence increasing the energy available from plant food. But that's not the main story. The most important story is that as seasons change and environment changes, the composition of plant food eaten by heterotrophs changes, and the gut bacteria compositions in the heterotrophic species also change. And these changes influence the species' ability to digest and assimilate carbohydrates, and hence significantly influences the energy available from food. So this is a modulation that gut bacteria play across ecosystems as ecosystem modulators and hence influencing how energy produced in an ecosystem is distributed across different species. So the question is that through this, can gut bacteria really influence the distribution of biomass across ecosystems? A growing body of research now shows that gut bacteria not only determine ecological niches for species, but they also influence growth rates, reproduction rates, energy states, and even mental states in heterotrophs. So while so far much of the focus on gut bacterial research has been on digestion and health, this opens up a whole new perspective and a whole new view on gut bacteria in ecosystems and how they also operate as modulators of biomass flows in ecological systems. Now, at the third level of organization, where heterotrophic species organize in the form of social organizations, right? And so at this next level, like all organization, social organization also exists or emerges through bonds between people. And durable bonds between people give rise to social identities. So there's a difference between exchanges and creation of social identities. Now, when you look at the social identity theory and the social identity view of human social organizations, there are two abundant social identities in human social organization. First is families. Now, families or kinship-based social organizations are shared, exist across species of animals, and they're common in humans as well. Now, these kinship-based social organizations, they produce their own human resources, and they have a distinct social identity through the dynamic between the connected people. Now, there is a second social organization, second kind of social organization, which I call as non-kinship social organizations, which also exist, which exist uniquely at this scale, they exist uniquely in human society. Now, these social organizations depend on families for an uninterrupted supply of human resources. Unlike families, they don't produce their own human resources, and in this way, they are dependent social organizations. So, large-scale emergence of non-kinship social groups was enabled through the emergence of language in humans. And sociologists have also found that the neurocognitive basis and the stability of these two social organizations are very different in human society. So, from this very social perspective, human social organization is dynamically constituted, or human society is dynamically constituted through human resource flows between families and businesses. And this flow between human resource producing social identities to human resource consuming or dependent social identities. In this social organization, money plays a very, very important role. First, in most jobs that are related to families, many people work without the need for external rewards like money when they're doing work for their own families. But you cannot imagine working for a business which is a non-kinship social organization without being paid money. So money plays a very, very important role in the emergence and sustenance of these non-kinship-based social identities. Secondly, changing the level of investments across businesses, financial investment markets and banks play an important role in new job creation and in deciding where employment patterns, new jobs are created and shifting employment patterns in an economy. So in this way, they act as modulators which affect the distribution of human population between producing families and consuming businesses in an economy. Now, this social aspect of money and financial investment markets in human society is an area that is now being focused on research. So if you connect the research or connect the findings across levels, it suggests a three-level coupled organization of flow networks and living systems that spans across ecosystems. And at each level of organization, there is an influencer subnetwork that can dynamically influence flows between different network paths and hence dynamically influence the distribution of resources in an ecosystem or economy. In a recent publication, we have examined similarities between these influencer subnetworks at different levels through the lens of a common organizational definition of modulator systems. In dynamically constituted living systems like the brain, modulator systems like dopamine are known to play an important role in neural organization and reward-seeking behavior, and influence both organization and learning. So a cross-disciplinary multi-level study is now focused on exploring deeper connections between these natural and socioeconomic systems and their impact on multi-system sustainability. For instance, now if you really look at this three-level model, what does it tell you on nature strategies for multi-level sustainability? And there's a lot of questions from him and from others on how does nature manage the dynamics between level. Now, if you take this view where geochemicals in the first level are getting converted into biomass, geochemical cycles produce the geochemicals and plants fix or consume these geochemicals and convert them into biomass. At the next higher level, where plants become food for heterotrophs. So these are production-consumption organizations at two different levels. Now, what is most interesting is at both levels, carbohydrates are playing an active part. So there is a common modulator which is operating across the two levels. And this is such an interesting new observation. But because there is a common modulator, we know that in the underground economy, in the subsoil exchanges between geochemicals and plants, because mycorrhiza exchange phosphorus for carbohydrates, the entire system evolves to maximize photosynthetic production and to maximize carbohydrate production across connected plants. Now at the next higher level, where gut bacteria also modulate carbohydrates and giving higher energy to those species which during a particular season and at a particular time are going to have the most positive feedback on plant energy production. So hence, using a common modulator at two levels, nature has devised an evolving system which synergizes production consumption across the two levels. And this is a very interesting point that we are now exploring further through research. So the question is, what can we learn from this in exploring synergies at the next higher level, where our currencies are being printed at will, they're nowhere connected to natural ecosystems, our social organizations are pretty much operating in their own human sphere. And I think during lunch somebody talked about the anthropomorphic view on economy and the biocentric view on economy. So here is a biocentric view on economy which connects two levels. We have our financial markets at the higher level. So what can we learn from natural systems on how do you develop sustainability between levels? So what we're exploring is that if phosphorus in mycorrhiza networks and carbohydrates in gut bacteria and money in socioeconomic systems are in some way equivalent at three different levels in organization, then can they be made exchangeable? Can we create digital currencies using blockchain technologies based on transaction ledgers? And can these digital currencies be leveraged to develop digital proxies for these biocentric environmental currencies? And finally, can solution developers explore new ways to leverage these similarities to enable exchanges between ecosystems and economic systems? So the Lifel Sustainathon is a non-profit, cross-disciplinary build-a-thon to facilitate the next round of comparative multi-level research and solutions development. It uses these initial ideas and invites researchers for a discussion, debates, and to develop new proposals for comparative research that examine through a multi-level lens of a multi-level view 4 different areas. 1, mycorrhiza and ecosystem flow networks. 2, gut bacteria in ecosystem flow networks. 3rd is the financial investment networks in human resource flow networks. And 4th, avenues for multi-level sustainability between ecosystems and economic systems. Well, in many ways, this is only a first small step towards a long collective journey. And I think it's a collective journey towards developing a deeper understanding of our self-organizing living world and how our socioeconomic systems can be designed to balance between development and sustainability. If you'd like more information, you can visit our website. Thank you.